Can a person be predisposed genetically to develop diabetes, or is it all lifestyle, or is it a combination of the two?
There are certain genetic factors, and typically you would say they run in the family.
Right.
And you say my dad had diabetes, and so I may develop diabetes. You're not born as a diabetic. That's pretty rare. Again, there are contributing factors. So if you have a weakness or predisposition, it doesn't necessarily mean you will get it. If you have 50 people who have a predisposition, you compare it with 50 people who don't, you don't have a higher number of diabetics coming from the first group than in the second group. So it doesn't necessarily mean if you have the gene factor for diabetes, you will develop diabetes. But if you are
the environment is right.
If you have a diet and a lifestyle that will cause diabetes even in healthy people, then the ones that have a predisposition to diabetes, they are the first ones to develop it.
Wondering the difference between type 1 and type 2. Type 1 seems like it would be more hereditary or genetically predisposed.
You would think so, that there are certain things that happen in the mother's womb. Again, there are indications that poor nourishment, development, poor development, mothers' issues with the liver or pancreas may then lead to some problems in the embryo, and then develop certain predispositions towards developing that. But again, what is found, there's some very good piece of research to show that if children get fried foods, like again a lot of trans fatty acids, their risk of developing type 1 diabetes goes up.
It does?
Yes, and liver is always influences the pancreas more than any other organ. So if they eat certain kinds of food that contaminate the liver and weaken the liver and create intrahepatic gallstones, which we may be able to talk about later, these are causing problems to the pancreas and the health of the pancreas, because when the pancreas, which is emptying its waste products via the liver, there is a vein that passes the waste products directly into the liver. When the liver is getting congested, then the pancreas will no longer be able to function properly. And if there are any stones that are released from the gallbladder or the liver and they enter the pancreas via the common bile duct and they start moving up into the pancreatic duct, then that can cause damage to the cells, the insulin-producing cells in the pancreas. So that is one cause of that issue. Another one is that the type 1 diabetes, again, the cells are for one reason or another not producing enough insulin. Again, internally, when the blood vessels are not healthy, if you eat too much protein, then it causes the blood vessel walls or the capillary walls to become too thick, and then they don't nourish the pancreatic cells properly, and they might just die off or become weaker or go into an inactive mode, which is more likely than them dying. Because if they died, you would have a dead corpse, basically, or corpses of dead cells, decomposing in the pancreas, and you wouldn't survive that. So when the pancreas is becoming underfunctional or dysfunctional, then it is more that they are inactivated. And cells like that need to be stimulated and activated. Again, a lot of that can be corrected by changing the diet and lifestyle and cleansing the liver, and to allow the pancreas to normalize. However, there's usually scar tissue involved, and that doesn't allow the pancreas to make the insulin. In that case, there are certain things you can do. For example, if you took a product called lambrokinase, that is an enzyme, a systemic or metabolic enzyme that is probably deficient, and I'm not, this is my opinion rather than based on fact, that that particular metabolic enzyme is low in type 1 diabetics. And when you supply that, the lambrokinase is capable of breaking down scar tissue and
right.
protein, fiber, fibroid type things that inhibit the pancreas from doing its job. And so when you allow these ingested enzymes to digest the fibroid tissue, the protein tissue, which is fibers are made of proteins, protein fibers, that is helping to activate the pancreatic enzymes, and that's, from my experience, helps type 1 diabetics most.
Okay.
To help them get rid of these excessive tissues, scar tissues, and then allow the pancreas to function again.
Okay, so liver cleansing,
Liver
taking
cleansing,
the enzyme.
I would take that enzyme.
And that's
if
all
it
in
were
your
type-
book?
Actually, the enzyme is something that is not in the book.
Oh, it's not in the book, okay. And what is it again?
It's called lumbrokinase, Lumbrokinase, lumbrokinase. There are other metabolic enzymes called nattokinase, Nattokinase, and there's another, it's called serrapeptase, that is, again, a systemic enzyme that helps to break down excessive tissue. But lumbrokinase has been shown to be the most effective.
Okay, and where would a person get something like that?
On the internet you can find those easily.
Thank you for that information.